So today's video, I'm going to be walking through and filming Chris's wonderful Hallberg Rassy 46, and later on we'll have a chat with him about his plans and what he's done to the boat since he's first bought it, which is not that long ago. So here we go. We'll start at the bow, and the first thing you'll notice is a huge great Rockner anchor. It's a 40 kilogram 88 pound anchor, which I suppose you need for a boat of this weight, but you don't normally see them this size. And yeah, superb. Chris has had a big sun awning made up, which keeps the heat out of the boat, because with teak decks they do heat up a bit and take a long time to cool down, so the sun awning will make a lot of difference to that. The boat's set up with a removable inner forestay that's currently strapped to the mast, but a good idea for putting up a storm sail, or just when you're tight to the wind and it's blowing like stink. This is a nice touch. The Hallberg Rassy logo.
Good morning.
You don't see this very often, only on quality boats. Good idea though, somewhere to lock your halyards in place. A lot of the systems are hydraulic, which I've not seen before. The boom bang is hydraulically controlled, although with a manual thing as well. And then, as you can see here, it's hydraulic in-mast furling, which is amazing. Obviously run off 12 volts as well, but yeah, interesting. The decks are in amazing condition. I won't tell you the age of the boat yet, we'll save that bit for later, but it's got a life raft and a superb solid Dodger, just fantastic. Coming further aft, plenty of room back here, great fishing platform, and dinghy, davits, solar panel, so forth. Chris does say these seats are a bit of a nuisance, quite uncomfortable, but you can perch on them just about. And then this amazing cockpit. And the width on the decks is just, oh, fantastic. Very well organised wheel and instruments, with bow thruster, which you need on something of this size, and 4 electric Lumar winches, and a lovely steering wheel. Very simple, very uncluttered, which is nice. And then you've got the full, more or less full bench seats. And at the rear of the cockpit, your traveller, which is well out of the way. Makes a lot of sense. Hallberg Rassy have had a superb reputation for quality and global cruising for years. It's certainly a very sought after manufacturer, and you can see, I mean, it just screams quality everywhere. Everything seems to be oversized, just superb. And the equipment, actually, I'll just show you. Look at the quality of this track and fittings. Superb. The Navtec system for the backstay. Again, hydraulic. In addition to the B&G chart plotter, there's a backup Garmin as well. B&G instruments. This is lovely inside this Dodger. Coming down below. Very pleasant on the feet with the carpet. Also protects the flooring. And then it might get a bit dark in here, but you've got a very spacious double bunk area. Really nice. And then a traditional V-berth with lots of storage cabinetry. That's the one thing with older boats, you do get a lot of storage space. Wow, big head. Superb. And there's Chris's controls for the Spectra water maker. I think it's
shower to your right.
Oh, and it's, Jesus, it is huge in here. Full on stand-up shower. That's really nice, Chris. Nice spacious galley. Obviously fridge and freezer system. Chris is vegetarian, so he doesn't do much cooking. Very useful coffee making apparatus here, especially at sea. Saves wedging yourself in the galley. And then the proverbial captain's chairs. Now, most people I know, they're comfortable, they're useful, but much people would prefer a bench.
As would I.
As would Chris.
Yeah.
And me.
Seaberth is invaluable.
Yeah.
But
great for entertainment, but bloody awful for living on the boat. Yeah. I don't know why they do it, but a lot of manufacturers do. And look at this headlining. Ha! So anybody like to hazard a guess on the age of the boat? You're probably wrong. Let me show you the engine and I'll tell you. Great nav station. Chart table. Actually, this area here is pretty good as well for storing all the bits and pieces, which there's never a bloody place on a boat to do that. And then we're going to come to the piece de resistance. This is an engine room unlike any I've ever seen. You could eat your dinner off of it, or in Chris's case is vegetables or salad. But just wait for this. How about that? It is spotless and huge and clean and just wonderful. It looks brand new. Yeah, nice owning generator as well. If I had an engine room like this, I would crap myself when I come to change the oil in case I made a mess.
The rod steering coming down with an electric autopilot on the front of it.
Oh, is that well there? That's the rod steering, yeah? Wow.
And up in the roof there's diesel heaters. In the ceiling.
Wow. And a hot water system on the other side. You can actually get in this room to fix stuff, although Chris says he has to lean over the engine when doing it. It's 105 horsepower Yanmar, but this, compared to a normal cruising boat, this is just yeah, just superb. So, have you guessed what age it is yet? Well, let me tell you, it's 2003. So the boat is just in superb condition. And the engine's got 2,800 hours on it. So it's been used. But who keeps their engine room in this condition? Here we are in the aft cabin. Spacious. Chris was saying that you can get this as a double and a single, or a queen like he's got at the moment. But again, massive amount of storage in the side lockers, and then full walk-in shower, decent sized basin, wow, and toilet. But you can see, I mean, it's spotless. I do like aft cabins. Decent sized lockers for clothing as well. Hello, Chris.
Hello, hello. Not sure if it's of interest, but under the bed and back is batteries and a lot of the electrical systems, battery chargers, inverter, that kind of thing, as well as steering, of course. Live from Birdsong.
Yeah, which I'll try and spell right. Okay, Chris, thanks for showing me around the boat. That was a nice experience. Perhaps you'd like to tell us how you ended up with a Hallberg Rassy.
So when I decided to buy a boat, I had a few specific criteria on things I wanted in the boat. I wanted a center cockpit boat. I wanted a skeg hung rudder.
Right.
I wanted not a fin keel. But I also didn't want a full keel. So those, I wanted 3 cabins.
Mm-hmm.
And so those criteria, there's probably 1 or 2 more, but those are the big ones, and that immediately narrowed down the list of boats. Then I wanted, basically the most sturdy boat that I could have. My criteria and the preparation I've done were driven in a large part by my desire to sail in the most remote and extreme areas of the world. I want to go to Patagonia, I want to go to South Georgia, I want to sail across, do a circumnavigation, including crossing the Indian Ocean. I may hop across to Antarctica, and so I've been in storms at sea. And so a lot of the production boats were just out for me, the Junos and the Beneteaus, which are fine boats, but in my experience being at sea in storms, it's scary. And the ocean is a very, very powerful thing. And I don't think a lot of people quite realize just the forces at play. And so getting a boat that has the best reputation for its seaworthiness and sturdiness was a high priority of mine. And I want to sail the South Seas, I want to get down there where storms are more likely.
Yeah. Was there any other boat that came within the criteria, or was it just...
Yeah, so I created a list and I started whittling it down. I went and saw Tiana and considered them. I went and saw a couple of Oysters, and they were on the both of those were on the short list. A couple of Hong Kong boats, but eventually the list was narrowed down to Hallberg Rassy or nothing, essentially. And then after going through a few different Hallberg Rassys, I narrowed down my list to this specific model, the Hallberg Rassy 46. and there's 150 of them about in the world, and I eventually decided I was going to buy one of these specific boats because of the sweet spot of size for storage of gear and toys, the reputation of its hull shape for heavy weather sailing. Yeah, it's sweet.
So I understand from our previous conversations, you've put a bit into the boat since you first took ownership.
Yeah, and for the same reasons that I just outlined, you know, obviously, ultimately, all these money's obviously a factor, and people can only afford to do what they can afford to do. But because of where I want to sail, and the boat was 18 years old when I bought it, and all of these systems that I've upgraded were original. So all new standing rigging, all new running rigging, new sails, new electronics. My first winter sailing down here in Mexico, my radar was missing container ships. My chart plotter was so old I couldn't get charts for it.
Yeah.
You know, new life raft, new davits, and solar system. There was no water maker on board. The boat wasn't set up for ocean sailing, despite being such a classic blue water ocean boat. Its whole life had been on the Puget Sound, and so it didn't have a life raft. It didn't have a water maker. And again, because of where I want to go, I did things like drop the rudder, new cutlass bearing, new seals, dropped the puller. Sorry, that's the prop. Dropped the both the rudder and the prop were pulled. Cooling system totally removed and acid dipped and rebuilt with all new on the main engine. You know, essentially all new safety gear, and a million other things.
Million other cupboards full of spare parts.
Just so many. I mean, I've spent 2 years now preparing and getting essentially everything that I could think of that you might want when something goes wrong in the middle of nowhere aboard the boat.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are things I don't have that I'm gonna one day want, but there's a lot. I've been relatively thorough.
Right. And what about crew?
Crew's my big sort of, I don't know what the right term is, not Achilles heel or white whale or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been the issue. When I bought the boat, I had someone I knew from my climbing days 30 years ago, who I wasn't in touch with anymore. He wasn't like a close friend, but he was friends of friends who was supposed to sail around the world with me. And I bought the boat and he bailed.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, and I've sailed my whole life all over the world, and I know the hassles of crew. And so I started getting people from crew sites coming and interviewing and spending 3, 4, 5, 7 days sailing with me, and it's been a challenge to the point where I've considered selling the boat at times.
Wow.
Because I don't want to keep teaching people, and I've got a nice boat, not particular about it, and there's, as I was just describing to you, there's no lack of small details that I want done a very particular way, and I don't want to keep teaching people that over and over and over and over.
And you don't want to slapdash your approach.
Yeah, no, and so ultimately I want a partner, and I'm hoping I've found one or two of them. A guy, Terry, who sailed with me last year for 2 weeks, who's been preparing his life to sail around the world on someone else's boat, and he's very prepared, and he actually just got a captain's license and has done an ARC. I've never done an ocean passage, and he has. I'm a significantly more experienced sailor than him, and he's relatively new in the last 3 or 4 years, but in that time he's really put in the hours and doing deliveries on the East Coast, and
so would you consider him as like a first mate type?
Yeah, for sure. In my
Senior
documents
crew
I
member?
just filled out for French Polynesia, I wrote him first mate.
Right.
And then there's a woman, Cheryl, who's newer as joining the team. who's also eager to sail a long way, and I don't know her as well. I just have met her for a few hours at this point. But the both of them will arrive here, and we'll spend the three of us 3 weeks here in La Cruz together, doing a 4-day shakedown sail together, go over some of the systems, and then have 2 weeks of final prep together. And so that'll give us a good chunk of time. And if it's not, because really the interpersonals is
that's an
a
unknown.
huge component, and it's possible it doesn't work. So it know it could be that we get here and it's like, holy moly, any of us can't handle any of us, and then we'll have to figure out who doesn't come.
Yeah.
But I don't expect that. I don't think that's going to happen. But it's just a reality that it could. So we'll see.
So what about?
And that's why I scheduled the time for us to be together before we're stuck in the middle of the ocean,
pulling each other's hair out.
Yeah.
So what about if one of the crew changes its mind, for instance, when you get to, I presume you're going to the Marquesas first and then Tahiti?
Correct.
Yeah.
Marquesas, Tuamotus, Tahiti, and then on from there.
So if one of them suddenly decides there's a family issue, they can't continue, would you'd be looking to replace those crew?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't. For sure, I don't want to single hand.
Yeah.
I could single hand, but I don't. It's a big boat for it, and I just don't have interest in pulling into it. Well, the Tuamotus would be particularly hard single-handed because you need someone spotting for coral heads. But the idea of like anchoring in an atoll for a week by myself and snorkeling every day by myself alone is I just don't want to do that. The sailing challenges have drawn to me. But that said, it goes without saying that if it's not working, anyone has the right to leave at any time they want, and I have the right to kick anyone off at any time I want. And so that's a very explicit, understood part of just the reality. It's a small space, you may not get along. Or life just could happen, and some family emergency, or whatever. And Cheryl actually just this week has said, I have this christening of someone. I'm going to be the godmother, and I may want to go home midway across for a few weeks to a month. And my reaction was, great, awesome. If that's what you need to do, go. Because I think particularly.
But please come back.
Please come back. But I think it could actually only help the dynamics to know, hey, it's only a month until we get a little bit of space and a break from each other. And then, because 8 months is a long time. It's essentially 8 months to New Zealand. And so, I almost would prefer it, frankly, if she did that. Not that I want her off, but I think it would actually potentially help the crew dynamics to know, okay, I don't have to make it 8 months. I just got to make it another 3 weeks. And then we're going to get a break for a few weeks. And then come back together. But I really, once across to the Marquesas, and we have another person, a good friend of mine who's coming, so we'll be 4 for the crossing. Really, I'd like to have 4 for that, or at least 3 minimum. But from there on, frankly, I feel very confident that Terry and I can do it, the two of us. There's all kinds of couples sailing, and he's got, so really, once to the Marquesas,
Well, would you be open to, say, crew joining you later on in the passages?
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. There's no doubt. It actually is a goal of mine to try to keep a gender balanced boat. And so right now, when my friend Jim leaves in the Marquesas, there's a woman who, Michelle, a good friend of mine, well, a new but good woman who sailed with me over the last year for almost 3 weeks, who's just a lovely, wonderful person, and I'm hoping that she's planning to, but she's still working and does the digital nomad, and so there's some concern that it's too remote and too little connection, and she doesn't want to lose her job. So it's not 100%. But if she were to not come, I don't think I would add another male, because I think 3 men and 1 woman would be a little much for the woman. So I think I'd either keep it as the 3 of us or add another woman. Or if Cheryl were to leave, maybe go 3 guys.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'd go, you know.
No, that makes sense.
Either like all dudes or like 2 and 1 or 2 and 2, you know, something.
Yeah.
But I think 2 and 2 would be nice. Anyway.
Yeah. What about a lot of the boats over the last year, thanks to Elon Musk, because they've put on Starlink on their boat. Is that something you've considered?
Certainly considered it. And may do it. I've thought about doing it for Michelle, because then she could work.
Then she can work. Yes.
My issue, well, first off, it doesn't exist in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Going across the Pacific. There was just a presentation on Fiji here, and a guy from a marina in Fiji, and boy, oh boy, Fiji looks sweet. I mean, it's just like, it's just paradise after paradise after paradise. Supposedly Fiji Starlink is up and running in Fiji.
Right.
And so, but for me, I don't want to be sitting in the middle of the Pacific Ocean reading CNN.
Yeah, true.
And so, you know, that's just it. And I will. If we have Starlink on board, I'll spend 4 hours a day surfing the internet, and checking my email, and reading about the Blazers. I'm a basketball fan, and you know, I mean, and I don't want to do that. I'd love to have the streaming movies, though.
Yes.
That's the catch. If there was just a way to just limit it to streaming movies or TV shows, you know, like.
Now, the reason I ask is this working nomad scenario. It's opened up the world to, you know, people that want to work and be on a boat and still, you know, earn an income, basically. And it seems to be, of the people I've met, there's quite a few people that are actually doing their normal job, but they're doing it on a boat. And it doesn't, with Starlink, it doesn't matter where that boat is.
Yeah, as long as
it's got coverage.
As long as it's got coverage.
Yeah.
And Michelle, who had just sailed from La Paz down here to Puerto Vallarta with me, she was doing that along the way, and she hopped over onto another boat twice that had Starlink.
Right.
And you know, she does like the social media and videos and web stuff for a company, a charter company in the BVI's.
Okay.
And so she was like putting together, you know, little videos for their social media and using the Starlink to upload.
So do you have any anxiety, or what's your biggest fear with this forthcoming package, which is only weeks away?
Yeah, a month. You know, there's days where I get a little nervous. As I mentioned, I've never done an ocean passage, so this is number one coming, and it's a big ocean. But I have very high level of confidence in my skills and in the crew that I've got and in this boat, you know. So and the preparation I've done. So I feel like our boat setting out is
the boat will handle it much better than the crew.
But I feel confident about the crew.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like the combination is. I don't know that there's many boats who are going to have a more experienced crew on a better quality, better repaired boat.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, the boat is superbly set up. I mean, you saw that earlier in the video. You know, it's ready to go and equipped to go. So, you know, you've done a fantastic job in putting it together, and I'm sure the marine retailers have been rubbing their hands together every time you've walked into a store. I'll have another one of those. Throw another 1,000 at it.
It's not cheap. It's true.
Yeah, but I mean, you put the money into a boat that will always retain its value. So, hey, you know, if you need it to do the crossing, you've got it. Hopefully, it will go smooth.
I'm confident.
Yeah. That's what you got to be when you cut those dock lines and head straight out and lose sight of land, going, well, the next land's 3,000 miles away. Yeah, you need to be confident, and you certainly are that. Thanks for showing us around your boat, Chris, and for telling us your cruising plans.
No worries. Get out there and go sailing, people.